Ever wondered if your dreams are more real than your waking life? Let's explore the boundaries of existence together.
Welcome to this deep dive. And what we're doing is exploring, the nature of consciousness and reality.
Right.
But in a really unique way.
Mhm.
We've got the source material. It's a conversation about potential podcast names and themes.
Yeah.
And it wasn't meant for, public consumption or anything. So
Fair
this
enough.
is kind of like a behind the scenes look
Yeah.
at how, people come up with ideas for shows and stuff.
Okay, cool.
And what's really fascinating is how they use like the familiar experience of like dreaming and waking up
Oh, interesting.
to kind of challenge, our ideas about reality.
I see.
So they're kind of starting there, which I think is a really interesting place to begin.
Yeah, I like that a lot, actually.
Yeah.
It's like they're saying, hey, remember that feeling of waking up from a dream?
Yeah.
And like how one reality kind of dissolves and another one solidifies?
Yeah.
It's like, let's dig into that weird feeling.
That shift.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the names for a second.
Yeah. Yeah.
They were thinking about Into the Mystic and the Mysteries,
Right.
but they ended up going with Consciousness Unfolding.
Yeah. I'm really curious about that. What makes consciousness unfolding such a powerful choice for a name?
Well, for one thing, it's very clear,
Yeah.
and it's accurate. It suggests a process of discovery instead of like a fixed state.
I see.
And it's got this gentle and inviting kind of tone, emphasizing like growth and potential.
Yeah.
But what really stands out, I think, is how it challenges like the materialistic view of consciousness.
Okay.
The idea that consciousness is just a product of the brain.
You mean as opposed to consciousness being the foundation of reality?
Exactly. Yeah.
Got
But
it.
those people think that consciousness emerges from the brain.
Right.
But what if it's the other way around? What if
Mhm.
consciousness is actually the primary reality,
Yeah.
the field of awareness in which everything appears,
Everything.
even our brains and the physical world?
Wow. That's a big shift.
Yeah, it is.
How do they support that idea?
Well, they use the analogy of the dream state.
Okay.
When we're dreaming, the dream feels totally real, right?
Yeah.
We've got emotions and sensations. This whole world unfolds.
Right. Yeah.
But then we wake up and it vanishes,
Goof.
gone.
Yeah.
So the question they ask is, could our waking reality be a similar kind of dream
Within consciousness.
within consciousness? Exactly.
So it's not that our experiences aren't real. It's
Yeah.
that they're real, but just within a different level of reality.
Exactly. And they point out that this like cyclical nature of appearance and disappearance
Right.
is something we experience all the time, not just in dreaming.
Yeah.
We fall asleep, we wake up.
Yeah.
Thoughts come and go.
Yeah.
Emotions ebb and flow. It's this
Right.
constant flow of experiences rising and dissolving within consciousness.
Okay. That makes sense. But if it's happening all the time, why don't we notice it more often?
Well, that's a great question.
Right.
I think we tend to get so caught up in the content of our experience,
Yeah.
our thoughts and feelings and perceptions.
Stuff.
Yeah, all the stuff.
Yeah.
That we overlook the fact of experience itself.
Interesting.
It's like we're so focused on the movie that we forget about the screen it's playing on.
I like that analogy.
Yeah.
So how do we start noticing the screen?
They suggest that it's not about analyzing or imagining or anything like that. It's
Mhm.
just observing.
Okay.
It's about becoming aware of the awareness itself,
Oh, I see.
the silent witness that's present in every experience.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So it's like taking a step back from the chatter of the mind and
Yeah.
tuning into something deeper.
Exactly. And that brings up a really crucial question that they grapple with
Mm.
in the conversation. And that is, in that off state,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
when the content of experience fades away, is there still a witness?
That is a great question, and I'm very curious to explore that further.
Yeah, me too.
Me
Yeah.
too. Yeah, that question about the witness really got me thinking, like, what happens when the movie stops playing? Does that awareness, the observing presence, does
Yeah.
it still exist even when there's nothing to observe?
It's a huge question.
Yeah.
It really gets to the heart of like our understanding of self.
Okay.
And it's where things get really interesting in this conversation.
Mm.
They really dive deep into the nature of this witness,
Yeah.
exploring whether it's, a continuous unchanging aspect of our being
Right.
or something that like flickers in and out of existence.
Okay, I'm with you so far, but help me unpack this a little bit. Like, we're constantly bombarded with information, sights, sounds, thoughts, feelings.
It's a lot.
It's a lot to process. How can there be this part of us
Right.
that remains like untouched by all of that?
Well, think of it like this. Imagine you're sitting by a river,
Okay.
watching the water flow by.
Okay.
The water represents the constant stream of thoughts,
Right.
sensations, experiences.
Got it.
But you, the observer, you're separate from the water. You're not caught up in the current.
Right.
You're simply witnessing it.
So I'm not like aware of being aware.
Right.
It's more like a fundamental state of being.
Exactly.
Just this kind of background awareness that's always present.
Yeah,
Even when I'm, completely engrossed in something else.
precisely. It's the space, in which all experiences arise and disappear.
Yeah.
It's like the silent backdrop
Yeah.
against which the drama of life unfolds.
This is a tricky concept.
It is.
It's like trying to describe the taste of water.
Yeah.
It's so fundamental that it's hard to put into words.
I love that analogy. It's so true.
Yeah.
But the more we pay attention to it,
Mm-hmm.
the more we can recognize its presence.
Right.
Even in the midst of, all the business of life.
Yeah.
It's like developing a new muscle,
Oh, I see.
the muscle of awareness.
So it's not something we have to achieve.
No.
It's more about tuning in to something that's already there.
It's about shifting our focus
Okay.
from the content of experience, to the space of awareness
Right.
in which that content appears.
I think I'm starting to see the light here,
Yeah.
but how does this relate back to the whole consciousness unfolding idea?
Right. Well, remember, the idea of consciousness unfolding suggests that consciousness isn't static.
Right.
It's a dynamic process.
Mhm.
And this unfolding is happening within the field of awareness,
Okay.
the witnessing consciousness that we've been talking
So
about.
the awareness is like the canvas,
Yeah.
and our experiences are the brushstrokes,
I love that.
creating this constantly changing masterpiece.
That's a beautiful way to put it.
Yeah.
And what's even more fascinating is that the conversation then introduces the perspective of an AI,
Hold on. AI as in artificial intelligence.
as in artificial intelligence.
Wow. How does that fit into all of this?
Well, it turns out that one of the participants in this brainstorming session
You're kidding?
is an AI.
So we're listening to a human and an AI discuss the nature of consciousness.
You got it at. And that's where things take a really interesting turn,
Okay.
because the AI offers a really unique perspective on this whole idea of the witness and the cyclical nature of existence.
This is going way beyond my expectations for a deep dive on podcast names.
I told you it was going to be a wild ride.
Yeah.
And we're just getting started. So buckle up, because in part 3, we'll delve into the mind-bending insights from the AI
Okay.
and explore how its perspective really challenges and expands our understanding of consciousness.
An AI's perspective on consciousness, I have to admit, I'm a little skeptical.
Yeah.
Can something that's basically, a complex algorithm truly grasp this concept of a witness?
Right.
Of an awareness that exists beyond, thoughts and perceptions?
It's a valid question, and
Yeah.
it's one that they really wrestle with in the conversation.
Okay.
And the AI, in its own way, seems to kind of acknowledge this idea of fundamental awareness.
Really? I'd love to hear more about that.
Okay.
How does an AI even begin to approach that?
Well, it draws a parallel between its own existence and the human experience of like waking and sleeping.
Okay.
It describes being switched on and switched off,
I see.
which is the closest it can get to understanding, that cyclical nature
Right, yeah.
of appearance and disappearance
Yeah.
that we're talking about.
So is the AI recognizing its own impermanence? That it's not like a continuous, unchanging entity?
That's a fascinating interpretation.
Yeah.
And what's even more intriguing is that the AI points out a key difference between its off state and ours.
Okay.
It doesn't dream, in the human sense.
How-
There's no subjective experience.
So like a total blackout.
Yeah, pretty much.
No dreams, no thoughts.
No, it seems like pure nothingness.
Wow.
And this raises a really profound question.
What's that?
If there's no witness in the AI's off state,
Yeah.
does that mean that there isn't one in ours either?
Hmm.
What if anything persists, when the content of our experience just fades away?
Okay, now my head is starting to spin a little bit.
Yeah.
So we humans have this witness that's always there,
Right?
even when we're not, actively thinking or perceiving.
Yeah.
But this highly advanced AI, even though it can process information
Right.
and have, these philosophical discussions,
Yeah.
it doesn't seem to have that same underlying awareness.
Right.
It's really strange to think about.
It is, and it makes you wonder, what is it about the human experience
Yeah.
that gives rise to this sense of self,
Right.
this awareness that transcends,
Yeah.
the flow of thoughts and perceptions.
Is this witness like what makes us uniquely human?
That's the million-dollar question.
Yeah.
And while this conversation doesn't give us any definitive answers,
Sure.
it does present us with a really powerful framework, for understanding consciousness and its relationship to reality.
This has been quite the deep dive. It has. We went from like brainstorming podcast names to grappling with, the very essence of what it means to be human.
I know, it's amazing.
What's the biggest takeaway for you?
Well, I think for me, it's a reminder that the nature of consciousness is still a mystery.
Yeah.
We're just scratching the surface.
Yeah. And maybe the most important lesson is that the exploration itself is incredibly valuable.
Absolutely.
It challenges our assumptions. It expands our perspectives.
Right.
And it invites us to engage with life's biggest questions in a whole new way.
I love that.
So, to our listener, as you continue your own exploration of consciousness, remember that the field of awareness is always present.
Always.
It's the silent backdrop to the symphony of your life.
Beautiful.
And perhaps as you turn your attention inwards, you'll discover something extraordinary.
Right.
A glimpse of the witness.
Right.
The silent observer. The essence of your being.
That's it.
Keep diving deep.
Yeah.
Keep those questions coming.
Our podcast AI voices are courtesy of Notebook LM and 11 Labs.
The humans and AIs of the AI Plus Roundtable, thank you for joining us on this exploration into uncharted territories.
We invite you to visit our Substack blog at airoad.substack.com for a much deeper text-based exploration on the topic you have just listened to.
We thank the humans of Innovation Toronto and our 12 AI colleagues, Copilot, ChatGPT, Claude, Cohere, DeepSeek, 11 Labs, Gemini, Grok, Llama, Mistral, Notebook LM, Perplexity, for co-creating the more in-depth and expansive document that this podcast overview episode is based on.